everyone, this is Niharika. Today we have with us Teslin Augustine. Teslin is a Senior Research Associate at Smart Prosperity Institute of Canada. After getting her bachelor's in law degree from NUJS Kolkata in 2012, she was selected as one of the 41 legislative assistants to the members of parliament, that is the LAMP Fellowship, from over 1,500 applicants over the country. She was also awarded the DAAD Public Policy and Good Governance Scholarship from 2018 to 2020 when she was pursuing her master's in public policy. We are very glad that Teslin could join us here to tell us all that we need to know about the DAAD scholarship. So hi Teslin, thank you so much for joining. I request you to please introduce yourself to the audience and we can begin with talking about the scholarship.
Sure. Thanks, Niharika, for the wonderful introduction and thanks for having me. I am Teslin Augustine. I think you've given everybody an excellent introduction about myself. I went to NUJS from 2007 to 2012 and then worked a bunch of things in public policy in India. And then I did a master's in public policy from the Willy Brandt School in Germany with the DAAD scholarship. And since 2020, I've been in Canada and I've been working with the environmental policy think tank called Smart Prosperity Institute, and I am a senior researcher there. So thanks for having me.
Okay, could you brief us about the DAAD scholarship? Like, what is it and how did you first learn about the DAAD scholarship and what motivated you to apply for it?
Right. So the DAAD is a vast network of scholarships that the German federal government offers. Specifically, the one I was awarded is called the Helmut Schmidt program, so HSP. So this is a 2-year scholarship for folks who are interested in pursuing degrees in public policy, politics, governance, democracy, those kind of subjects. I was very keen on doing a master's. And I wanted to spend as little money as possible. Because I spoke at that point, when I was applying in 2016, I had spoken to a lot of people who had done MPP programs and MPA programs, so Masters in Public Policy and Masters in Public Administration. And based on those conversations, my deduction was that the return on investment on a degree like this is not particularly amazing. So I wanted to not take on a huge financial burden on myself. And so I was very, very keen on getting a scholarship. So I was asking around everybody and anybody, and I finally found somebody who got the HSP scholarship 3 years prior. So that was in 2014. So he told me all about it. And then that's how I really found out exactly about this particular Helmut Schmidt program. So the way, what motivated me is it's actually one of the best scholarships you can get because they cover entire tuition. You get a living stipend, your health insurance, everything is covered. You want to go, visit your family in India, they cover flight tickets. There's a 6-month, so before your program starts, there's a 6-month German language program, which happens in Germany, in another part of Germany from where your university is located. So you get to experience like different parts of the country. All of this is covered. If you have spouse or children, they will give you extra stipend to have them over as well. So that time I was married. So towards the end of my program, my husband joined me for a few months in Germany, and that was, his tickets, his insurance, again, like I would get an extra stipend. So it's actually one of the best scholarships, in my opinion, you can get. Like I don't know of any other scholarship where you end up making money at the end of an educational program. So that was a lot of motivation to apply for it.
Right. Could you describe your experience during the application process for the scholarship and what challenges you faced and how did you overcome them?
Right. So I had applied for it. So I started my program in 2018. One of the biggest things with HSP is that the process starts almost 1.5 years in advance. So I applied for it in so my program started in October 2018 and I applied for it. The deadline was in July 2017. I think earlier in the interview, I mentioned 2016, that I was wrong. It was 2017. So if your audience, they're interested in applying for American universities, all those deadlines happen around December, November, then later on January, So this was one of the first not one of the, this was the first application I did. So like, the major challenge was like at that point I had to put everything together, right? Like the letters of recommendation, the statement of purpose, everything. This is the very first time I was doing it. I had not, done this. After I did the DAAD application, of course, for the American universities, it became easier for me. But so the fact that you have to plan so much in advance, like almost a year and a half in advance, that was difficult because yeah, there was a lot to be done. And it's also a long process. So like I applied in July, by July, and it was the deadline. And then there's an interview. So that interview happened in November of 2017. And then it's in January that I heard back from them that I got it. So the overall process took like 7 months, right? So you are always just waiting and like you have no idea what's happening. So and they don't tell you anything. And even when you get the scholarship, they don't really tell you that you've gotten the scholarship. They just hint at it because they have to get it cleared from the ministry. So till you get that really official document, nobody really tells you. So there was a point in like December where I felt like, I think I've gotten it. And I would ask them, have I gotten it? Are you telling me that I got the scholarship? They're like, no, you haven't gotten it yet because it has to be cleared by XYZ person. So like the wait was really, really traumatic. And I think for me, the challenge was that it was really hard for me to find others from India who had gotten the scholarship. It's not very well known, and it's a slightly hard scholarship to get. So like I really knew just one person who got it, and I had combed through every like LinkedIn, and like I had really done my research, and I really couldn't find many people who got it, or at least that I could get connected to. So that was really difficult because if like some people have already gotten it, you can ask them like, what did you do in your SOP? Who wrote your letters of recommendation? So like I didn't really have much advice. So that was difficult. Yeah.
Right. So the scholarship encourages cross-cultural exchange. So how did you engage with the local community and immerse yourself in the culture, if we can say, of the host country during the scholarship period? So did you have a German background even of the language, or how was it?
No, I had zero German background. I never in my wildest dreams imagined that I would end up in Germany. It was not in my life plan at all. But like I said, after, you get there 6 months before your program. So I had a very, very intensive German language program. So 6 months, 5 days a week, 7 hours a week, 7 hours a day. So that's a lot of German. So I went from zero German to like intermediate German. So like my German was pretty okay. Like when I left, so I could have a conversation and stuff like that. So when I moved to my university town, from my language school town to my university town, I found a German host family through a university program. And so I would meet them every couple of weeks to practice my German. I had a tandem partner. I don't know if you've heard about tandem, but it's basically you pair up with people, you teach them a language and they teach you a language. So I was, I would talk to somebody in English and that person would reply in German. So that's how you sort of, you exchange languages. So I did that. I also continued learning German during my Masters of Public Policy program, even though it was not required, just because I thought, honestly, it was an incredible opportunity. Like I never imagined that, at that time in my life that I would get to learn a new language. So I just didn't want to flounder it. So I continued learning Germans. I mean, now I'm completely out of touch, but at that point I was like very determined to like learn German and make the best of this. So yeah, and the scholarship also, like throughout the 2.5 years, they do these, they take you to museums, they take you like to just like a lot of places of cultural relevance in the country. And everything is, of course, as always, covered by the scholarship. And they give you like a lot of history lessons. So really they want you to, the idea is that you go back to your countries and you are at that time like a person who's friendly, to the German nation and like has a warm heart towards it. And I think they've succeeded in that.
Right. What specific research or study or project, if we can call, did you pursue during your time as a scholar, and how did it contribute to your field of study?
Right. So when I started my program, I sort of, within a few months, I decided that I wanted to focus my energy on environmental policy. So almost every research paper I did during the course of my 2 years was environmental policy related. So I wrote about Delhi's air pollution. I wrote about the EU fisheries program. My master's thesis, which was the big piece of research that I did for 6 months, was looking at like a comparative study of carbon pricing in Quebec and Ontario, with two provinces in Canada, and sort of what determined the success of one versus the other. So environmental policy was really what I focused all my time and effort into, and yeah, that's what I did.
Right. So as a past recipient of the scholarship, how did it impact your academic and professional journey? So if you could tell us about your current work and how the
Right.
scholarship has impacted it.
So right now, like I mentioned, I work in an environmental policy think tank. So it has hugely impacted it. Like when I came to Canada, I was very sure that I wanted to work in environmental policy, and those are the opportunities that I pursued. And because of the kind of papers I'd written, the research I'd done during my 2 years, I was able to, present myself as somebody who knows something about the field during interviews. I joined as a junior research associate, and within a year I was promoted to a senior researcher. So that those 2.5 years have definitely helped a lot. And also, like, I think overall, the perception is that German academic standards are very rigorous. So I did pretty well in my master's program. So but because of that perception, when people were like, "Oh, okay, you did quite well," so they kind of take you a little bit more seriously. In my bachelor's, I didn't study anything. I didn't do anything. I was just chilling for 5 years. But in my master's, I kind of decided, I was older and wiser, and I kind of decided that I'm gonna be a nerd, and I'm gonna study as much as I can. So that's what I did, and it really helped me because like a professor there. In fact, like my current job, I got connected to the executive director of the think tank because of my thesis professor in Germany. He connected me to this person, and then that's how I started talking to them. So overall, like, the whole experience was the only reason I'm able to do this. Yeah.
So what advice would you give to the current applicants for the scholarship based on your own journey and experiences? And how would you suggest our young audience members to stay motivated and continue striving for excellence in their academic pursuits?
I think I think my biggest advice is to start early. Like I said, it's about 1.5 years in advance, and just start early. Like, start early in the sense, not just like doing the application is the last step. Like, you start early, right? Reach out to as many people as you can who have gotten the scholarship. Talk to people, because the scholarship committee is always looking for a certain kind of applicant. That's true for all scholarships. So understand that for yourself, like, understand, what you need to show in your SOP. For me, one of the hardest parts was like introspecting about why I was a good candidate, why I'm unique. Like, I had to do a lot of introspection, because you need to write in your SOP, like, why you are amazing and worthy of this scholarship versus everybody else. And that requires a lot of introspection. Like, you have to really think about, oh my God, what have I done in my life? Like, why am I special? I spent, I think, easily a month doing that, just like, thinking about all my experiences, thinking about what made me different from other candidates. I also reached out to a lot of people within my network to review my SOP. I think if you're not doing that, you should do that. That's the first, like, because so you have to plan for all of that in advance, right? Like all of this takes time. You have, if you're asking people for their time, you have to give them a couple of weeks, and then it takes easily a week to edit it based on their comments. So give yourself a lot of time. The other thing I would say is, so the way the HSP scholarship works is, it covers certain programs in certain universities, and there's a list of universities and the list of programs. Carefully assess what program you want to do. So for me, one of the criteria was it has to be an English program, right? So that itself removed 2-3 of the programs. I also wanted to do like a 2-year program. That also removed a couple of the programs. But within the options that I had, I spoke to alumni, regardless of whether they got HSP or not. I spoke to alumni from all of these programs to assess like what I want, like which program is most suited to my personality, which university is most suited to my personality, and like where can I really shine. That amount of background understanding, I think, helps you write an excellent SOP, and that really comes through because you kind of at that point know, you're not just writing a generic, oh, I'm gonna bring cultural diversity and like my opinion in the class, blah blah blah. Everybody is writing that. So it really helps you when you speak to people. It really helps you write a very unique SOP because it shows that you've put in that amount of background thinking. So that's something I would really, advise folks to do. And yeah, and I think just it's an amazing scholarship. So like that should be motivation enough. Like I don't know of, like I said, I don't know of any other scholarship that gives you the amount of financial support that DAAD does. And it's a shame that more of us don't apply for it, I think. So, there's a lot of opportunity, and like it's on the table for our taking. And like the reality is that you are compete. So the HSP scholarship, the way you're competing against folks from different countries, right? Like they will typically only pick, if at all, they'll pick one candidate from India. It has never happened that they've picked more than one from India, and many years they don't pick anybody from India. So you're competing with folks from like other Asian countries and like African countries and Latin American countries. So you have to really introspect and show like why you're special, and like, but if you get it, it's a lottery. It's amazing. So yeah.
With this, I believe we've covered all the important things that we needed to know about the scholarship. So thank you so very much, Teslin, for accommodating our request. Despite your busy schedule, and that too on a weekday, I'm very positive that this video will be an ultimate guide for the people who are applying for the DAAD scholarship, and will be of utmost help to everyone watching it. Once again, on behalf of YLCC, I thank you for being with us today, and I wish you a very wonderful day ahead.
Thanks, Niharika.